Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you're well. Yeah, basically, I wanted to do a video on like emotional fatigue and say how it comes about, and things we can do to reduce the effects of that. And I'm talking about the chronic fatigue that can be potentially crippling and like stop you from functioning in the world. And this is something that I've suffered with, like I've gone through, where it's literally a case of I literally don't feel like I can't function in the world. I can't think clear. It makes you foggy. Your mental capabilities are down. Like going to a job which is fundamentally really easy can be seen as a challenge. You're in no way firing on all cylinders, especially for people that feel really empathic as well. If you feel like an empath, if you feel like you associate well with that, even like going into massive crowds of people, like into shopping centres, can be it can be a real daunting thing. I mean, back in the day when I used to go out and it was say drinking time and all this, going into say clubs, it can be just too much, and you can't even hold conversations with people, and it just turns out into this like awkward nonsense, which is just almost like, what are these humans doing? But it's what we can do to seriously reduce how we feel when we are in those situations. And I think it boils down to it all boils down to the relationship we have with ourselves. How we communicate with ourselves is massive, because how we communicate with ourselves and how we love ourselves, it dictates how we feel. That's the real core of our emotional fatigue. And I think a lot of this can come down to the fact of if you're an empath, or if you feel like, say, any of these names like light workers and stuff, and even if you don't have to know what those labels are, but you know that something, you don't feel quite connected. You feel feel different in one way or another. And I can completely relate to this. And I think that disassociation can trigger the loneliness that you feel. And the loneliness that you feel can sort of like step up an internal dialogue, which can be quite self-defeating and can turn out to be quite negative, and which goes off into spirals of directions. This is like a massive spider web of, say, thought processes, which can sort of like encapsulate your nervous system, which takes me on to the next point, which is how our relationship with ourselves determines our relationship with our central nervous system, because it's all about our thoughts connecting with here. And it all boils down to negative thoughts, negative feelings, positive thoughts, positive feelings. So even if you're highly amplified and really sensitive to, say, negative energy into crowds and groups, I still think you have the power to make yourself as strong as possible. And you can really set up some good coping mechanisms for that. And I think the first port of call is how you communicate with yourself. How do you love yourself? Is this disassociation and disconnectedness really causing havoc? Is it creating physiological responses like your adrenal glands pumping out adrenaline permanently, which creates the fatigue? That's where it all stems from. And it releases the stress hormone cortisol. Your acupuncture systems are all out of a line. So this is just going to make you completely out of sync. So it's amazing how just from the power of your thoughts you can change so much. And I'm not denying the fact that there's evolutionary shifts when it comes to the planet. Quantum mechanics and physics has sort of shown how there is, like, the planet is in an evolutionary shift. And I'm not sort of taking away any fundamentals of that and how it could be impacting us physically as humans, if there is a sort of a transition in, say, vibration with us moving forward. And I'm not negating that at all, but what I think the main focus should be on is the relationship with yourself, and then in turn the world. Because if you are empathic, if you feel like you associate with an empath, or it doesn't even have to be empath, you could feel just really sensitive. You could not associate with that. You could just be highly sensitive to energy and negativity. So I think the first port of call is to making yourself as strong as possible, just by reaffirming and finding some solid beliefs which big you up. And then once you've done that, if you've made some like changes, cognitive process within, you can look at things like your diet, things you eat, stimulants, how you exercise, how you treat your body. Then look to the external world for ticking the boxes and to try and facilitate, tweak and make it really optimal for you. But for me personally, the biggest shift that I had in my life from being almost wiped out, anxious ridden, emotionally fatigued, really sensitive to my environment, really sensitive to people around me, couldn't go into large groups or be around groups of people, even if it wasn't negative energy, just energy in general was just too much. Shopping centres, like going to club and all this, it was just too much. But it wasn't until I made that shift in how I think and how I relate to myself and trying to cultivate some real self-love that there was a massive shift in my life. But I hope this all kind of makes sense, and there's so many fundamentals of what can impact this, and I'm not saying my journey is everything. I'm just trying to pass on some kind of knowledge to potentially anyone that could listen to this and to take this on board. Because I sometimes think people are sort of the whole fifth dimension-ness. I think it's really cool, and it is, but it's a cool thing to talk about, and I get it. But sometimes I could think it can project as it's over there. I'm not going to be right until I'm in the fifth dimension or I'm in another dimension. Everything's here and now. It's not over there. Maybe there are shifts that are happening, but this is the earth, this is nature. But we have to adapt ourselves as best we can, and that starts with how we think and how much we love ourselves and how we love others. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm probably going to do more videos on emotional fatigue and anxiety, because I think it's so prominent in our society that it needs to be addressed. People need a new way of thinking to try and to somehow cultivate a better environment for themselves. And that's why I hope to do this, to try and spread on some love and just open my arms and help people create new beliefs which are going to empower them. So on that note, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, when you watch this all over the world, wherever you are. I hope you're having a fantastic one, and peace out.